Hello and welcome back to JW's Dugout. John here. Happy Tuesday to everyone out there. So, I know I've mentioned a couple times on this channel that I've been really waiting for the moment where I can officially introduce my kids to the hobby of baseball card collecting. And you know what? This weekend, that moment finally happened. A long time in the making. I took two of the three kids to their very first card show, and we lasted for a grand total of 15 minutes. But honestly, that was really all the time that we needed. There is a small card show that pops up every now and again in the area. It's at a local high school near me, and usually max there's anywhere from 20 to 25 tables. We're talking an incredibly small show. Most of it ends up being Pokemon and some of the gaming cards. But this time there were about 10 tables. It was a very, very small turnout, a very, very quiet show, and not exactly the national, but hey, you know what? We don't need that. It's all about the experience, right? So my son, who actually turns 3 tomorrow, and my daughter, who just turned 5 a couple weeks ago, they were so pumped to go. They were unbelievably excited. They touched pretty much every card that was on display. They were asking questions left and right. Daddy, why is this guy wearing this uniform? And can we get mommy a Mets card? And I said, of course we can't. But somehow in between the whole thing, they actually behaved better than I expected. So we're gonna chalk it up to a dad win. And for me, it brought me back to being a kid and so many memories. My grandfather taking me to card shows and that smell of old cardboard and plastic top loaders and, the hum of conversation swirling throughout the room. For me, it was pure nostalgia, and it was a very exciting opportunity for me as a young father to be able to introduce two of my 3 kids to the hobby. But in the end, each kid was able to pick out a quarter card. I figured I'd start them off at a very, very low price point. My son actually grabbed a 2025 Topps Chrome Michael Harris, and my daughter picked out a 2025 Bowman Chrome Matt Olson. So we're not talking high dollar cards here by any means, but we're going to consider them Braves fans in the making, so you love to see it. And then, of course, Dad had to pick up a couple of things. I did find a small vintage table that was there, surprisingly, for the lack of tables that were there. This guy had everything from 60s and 70s commons to a few oddball relics and even some more obscure Hall of Famers tucked in there. So the kids got to kind of thumb through the quarter box, and I walked away with a couple of very inexpensive Greg Maddux cards I didn't have, and then one really fun Hall of Fame relic that I'll show off here in a minute. And that's the thing. It wasn't about what we bought, what we purchased there. It was about sharing that experience together, and really that's what the hobby's all about: making memories and planting that seed for future collectors. So I was really, really happy about how everything turned out, even though it was a very, very quick jaunt to the local high school. So, but enough with all the sentimental stuff. So for this video, I have actually 2 big cards to show off. One that was held up for nearly 2 weeks in eBay authentication. I purchased it well over a month ago. And that seems to be a growing trend. I know a lot of people are talking about that, and a lot of people are frustrated with it. And then another card of a legendary pitcher that somehow in my last pickup video I forgot to show off. I did have, a handful of cards from the card show, like I said, very small, like from the quarter box. I think I spent collectively $21 at the show, which is definitely a low for me. And then the one relic card, which I'll show off. And then a few cards from Jake over at Legends Never Die in his Virgil collection. I had another order, if you will, from one of his live streams come in. And so we'll show that off as well. So let's turn the camera around and let's look at some baseball cards. All right, guys. So we're going to start with the one that took well over 40 days. I think it was actually closer to 50 days to come back from, the seller, but then also eBay authentication. And seriously, it got to a point where I was pretty concerned that it was lost in the mail. And I probably should save this to the end of the video, but I just want to show it now because I love this card so much. And that is the 1955 Topps Hank Aaron. a card that I've been on the lookout for basically the last 2 years. It's getting to the point now where I'm getting down to the last, 15 to 20 Hank Aaron cards that I need for his playing days run. That includes, of course, league leaders, all the additional cards, the supplemental cards, aside from just the base cards. And the 55 tops is one that I needed. This is in a beautiful SGC 2.5. I know it's kind of a low grade. There are some issues for sure on the corners, but I thought from a presentation standpoint, the colors really do pop on this card. And it is just a fantastic, iconic card. Just a perfect mix, just like the 56 of the portrait of Henry Aaron, and then, of course, the action shot, the old school Milwaukee Braves logo. I love all of it. Flip it over to the back. And the back looks really clean, too. For the most part, there is a little bit of an issue here, and then, of course, on the corner, but really this presents more like a 3, I would say. So really happy with it. I got it for what I consider to be a pretty good price. So again, we're getting closer, guys. I'm gonna release a goals for 2026 video sometime in December, and it'll kind of talk about my Hank Aaron journey, and maybe I'll even do a separate video showcasing where I'm at currently with Hank Aaron, because I've showed off so much in the last couple of videos. But we are getting near the end, and of course the 54 is going to be a big one, but just really happy to acquire a card like this. So we'll put Mr. Henry Aaron up here. The other one, like I mentioned, that I failed to show off during my last pickup video is the 1934 Batter-Up Lefty Grove. This was a card that I picked up on a whim. I want a nice presentation of every Hall of Famer in my collection. I have Lefty Grove's autograph. I wanted a nice card from the 30s. This is him, actually, believe it or not, as a Red Sox and not as an A. From my understanding, there are a few variations of the 34 Batter-Up Lefty Grove. One with him portrayed in his A's uniform, but also you'll notice the color difference. This is the red glow. I don't know what you want to call the variation, but there's also black, and I believe there's 4 in total. I'm gonna have to go back and do my research on that. This is my first Batter-Up too. Just a very unique design. Obviously, the die cut, the pop out design makes him stand out from, to me, almost anything else that was produced in the 30s. And the player, Lefty Grove, 300 wins, 9 ERA titles, and a fiery personality that many people aren't really familiar with, as far as he could be something else in the dugout. I'm very happy with the quality of this card. Obviously, you can see that the perforation there, the punch out is coming out a little bit, but overall, I think this card looks great. Presents very well. So happy to pick this one up. All right, let's move over to what I picked up from Jake over at Legends Never Die and his Virgil collection. The first one was for my Perez Steel collection. This is not authenticated, but you know what? That's okay. The signature looks fantastic of Juan Marichal. And I think these greatest moments are just gorgeous. Kind of have that watercolor portrait design, great action shots. And it's Juan Marichal. The famous high leg kick. A guy who won over 240 games during his career, had an ERA under 3. And a guy I think obviously was really overshadowed by guys like Sandy Koufax and, Bob Gibson during his era. But his numbers definitely stack right up there among the best from this era. So we'll put this one in the back here. Beautiful piece to add to my Perez Steel collection. The other one I picked up is this 1952 Redman Pee Wee Reese. And this one's a beauty. So of course, no tab here, but love the red background color, really pops against Pee Wee's, white and blue uniform. Just absolutely beautiful. The back looks pretty good. We'll read this real quick. One of the best players in baseball, one of its most popular. He hit .286 for the Dodgers in 51, drove in 84 runs, and stole 20 bases. He also had the season's longest batting streak, one which extended through 22 games. He had a percentage of .340 during the streak. Pee Wee has been with the Dodgers since 1940. He's the team captain. These are just really, really good-looking cards. Very happy with that purchase. And not too pricey, because not to further promote Jake's live streams, he gives some deals. He prices them fair. He's very easy to work with. So I would highly recommend tuning into his next live stream or reaching out to him to see what he might have in his collection that you could potentially purchase. Another card I picked up from him was the 1952 Topps Dick Williams, and this was really to kind of just get the purchasing going that evening that I watched the live stream. Was not in the market for a Dick Williams 53, but the more and more I gather of these raw 53 cards, the more I want to work on the set. And I think, it's obviously has some issues. Like the corners up here are pretty good. There's some issue wear down here. The back is obviously like a little miscut. But I love the artwork. And of course, Dick Williams isn't necessarily a household name as a player when he was on the Dodgers, but as a manager, of course, 2-time World Series champion with the Oakland A's. He's a Hall of Fame manager and was really one of the toughest, no-nonsense managers in baseball history. So really happy to add his card to the collection. All right, the last one I picked up from Jake, and I kind of mentioned this during my last pickup video, a set that I'm slowly but surely working on is the 1961 Golden Press, and this is the 61 Golden Press George Sisler. Again, this is part of that 33 card set that features some of the more historic and well-known Hall of Famers. Sisler, one of the first players elected into the Hall of Fame. I believe he was he the second class? I think he was the second class. It's been a long day. I'll have to go back and check, but I believe he was part of the second class. But I love these cards. The artwork is just fantastic on the front, and again, it's an easy entry point for some of these older Hall of Famers. So really happy with that. Okay, speaking of George Sisler, and this is all pure happenstance, let me show off what I picked up at the show. So when I spoke of the Hall of Fame relic, this guy, for whatever reason, for it being such a small show, I go over to his table, I start flipping around in the boxes, and he's got some very early 2000s Topps and Upper Deck relics, stuff that you just don't see anymore. And reasonably priced. I probably overpaid a little bit for this one at $20, but I think this is fantastic. This is part of the 2003 Topps Gallery set, authentic game-used bat of George Sisler. And just an excellent piece. Part of my collection, I have a George Sisler autograph. I also really like the idea of having a companion piece along with the autograph in a game-used relic, whether it's a jersey, whether it's a bat. I know game-used relics and jerseys aren't for everybody nowadays, but I like the concept, especially with these older players. And, George Sisler, the guy could hit 407 in 1920 and 420 in 1922. And just an amazing, consistent player, 200 plus hits in 6 seasons. And this card, it's Topps Gallery, so it really kind of captures the essence of that time period. Really happy to pick this one up. All right, I'm going to show off just a few small purchases. So part of my kids purchasing those 2 cards that I mentioned earlier in the video, you could get 5 for $1. So you know, what did I do? I went in there and I picked out 3 cards. Did I need them? No, but you know, you wanna help the dealer out. So I picked up, this is another one I'm just gonna give to my son. Ozzy Albies, why not? But 2 Greg Maddux cards, 2 really inexpensive Greg Maddux cards that I didn't have. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll get them a quarter a piece, really cheaper than that. This Fleer Tradition from 2002, Curtain Call. And then I also picked up from 1999, Fleer Tradition, Warning Track Collection, Mr. Greg Maddux. And as you guys know, I PC Fred McGriff and Chipper Jones. I've got smaller PCs of more modern players like Michael Harris and Spencer Strider. And I have also been really going after Greg Maddux. And I think I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that aspect of my collection probably in 2026. Not going overboard with the high-end stuff, but really trying to build it out. You know, I'm not completely a hater of modern cards, and this in particular is a way for me to connect to the past, because I actually just watched on YouTube, they have a 3-part series on the 1995 Atlanta Braves, and I already had a tremendous appreciation for that team for obvious reasons, but you know, seeing Greg Maddux pitch, and especially during the off season, I will go back on YouTube because I'm a nut. I'll go back and watch old TBS games from, you know, the 94 season, the strike season, 95, 96, and rewatch Greg Maddux, and he just puts on a master class in pitching, and I just have so much appreciation for him. So definitely going to be looking into building out more of my Greg Maddux collection in the coming year. But for now, that's the haul. Picked up quite a few cards, you know, a good mix of vintage, some more art-focused cards, a couple oddballs, and, you know, really some pure nostalgia, especially with this 55 Topps Hank Aaron that I'm really proud of. And it all goes back to my kids, because eventually all of this will go to them one day, God willing. And really happy to have had that experience with them on Sunday. I think moving ahead, maybe we'll try our luck at a bigger show in the coming, you know, months. We'll see. We don't want to get too crazy, okay? But really enjoyed kind of sparking some of the memories from my childhood. And, you know, we might have only lasted 15 minutes at the show, but those 15 minutes sure meant a lot. So I thank you guys for stopping by the dugout this evening. And if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, leave a comment, and definitely let me know which of these pickups is your favorite. We'll catch you guys next time.